Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Sumbrum, Artistic Director at Dance Cleveland, and today I am joined by Raphael Xavier. Hi, Raph. How are you?
How you doing, Sarah? I'm good. I'm good.
Always good to have you here coming to Northeast Ohio. This will be, I think it's the third time that we'll have you here in the community. And this time we're getting to have a brand new piece, one of your newest pieces, SKIFF.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just start off for people who are not familiar with you. Could you tell us a little bit of background about, how you came into the contemporary dance field? Because it wasn't your traditional studio dancer background that we often get from many of our modern dance companies. So if you want to share a little bit about your background, that would be wonderful.
I found my way into dance theater by a company called Rennie Harris Pure Movement. It was in 1998. I'd been breaking in the early 80s, and when it died out, I just continued to practice and move through, the community of dancers who was still doing their thing. And so when I ran into a couple dancers from Rennie's company, he was doing a hip hop version of Romeo and Juliet. And so I got involved in that. And when I was on stage performing, it was clear to me that all the things that I had in my head as a creative person was possible. I just needed to see it because I didn't think it was possible. So as a hip hop dancer at that time, everything was still, pretty new and fresh, and people were interested in that. So I decided to start a company that was specific to the break-in vocabulary and see what I could do with that. So, over the years, I've been fortunate enough to come across other contemporary dancers and really some important choreographers and stuff in the dance world, the contemporary world, and I learned a lot to be able to continue this process and this journey and with breaking on the concert stage, so to speak.
Yeah. So for people not familiar with breaking, give us a little bit of, what are the actual movements or kind of movements that are very specific to breaking, and then how are those movements easily transitioned and blended with modern dance and theater? Because I also want to say in your work, what I love about it is there's breaking, there's modern and contemporary dance, but there's also this like spoken word element, storytelling, and poetry, really. And I feel
Yeah.
like it connects with some of the music as well. So tell me a little bit about how you transition that kind of classic breaking into the work that you do.
Most people are familiar with breaking in, obviously it happens in hip hop arenas, mostly in a circle. It's acrobatic movement. Any flips, spins, windmills, head spins, swipes, tracks, or any circular footwork patterns that are done on the floor. So people recognize that, regardless of what music it is, people recognize that as breaking vocabulary, right? Or the breaking form. But I tried to, as I got older, I knew there were certain things that I wasn't going to be able to do anymore. So I had to modify them and change the approach to that. Um, Not to get into it deeply, but I had a spine injury that affected how I was going to operate in an acrobatic way. So I definitely had to look at things um, um, with I'd say the contemporary eye, right? I had to look at it that way to continue to move forward if I was going to continue to do to do this.
Yeah.
Being able to do that movement physically for an extended amount of time was is difficult. So my questioning was, how do I take what has existed in the theater already or in those contemporary forms, adapt those techniques and styles, and incorporate my other artistic forms of practice and create something that I thought was fresh. So being able to take rhymes as an MC, break down those rhyme cadences and have deliver them like I'm having a conversation with the person or the audience. And so I would interject those um, can I use that word? Is that the word I should use? I would place those cadences in between the choreography so it would extend the moments that I had to. I'm
Yeah.
telling secrets. I hope Ralph Lemon doesn't see this. Don't give my secrets away. But to be able to move, I had to have moments that gave me that setup. So it
Mhm.
was being able to speak, and it was being able to break those movements down and dissect them. So I had longer pauses or longer freezes or continuous free flowing movement, not so fast, right?
Right.
And that would allow me to get my breath back and take in all of that. So when it comes time like boom again,
Mhm.
I could
And I
do it.
think that's what you connected all so well by having those moments. I feel like sometimes in hip hop and breakdance and in modern dance and younger dancers, often it's like boom, 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 trick, trick, trick,
Yeah,
right? And I feel like having the poetry and the spoken word and the contemporary elements is what makes your work so special because it really has this like arc of energy. You know, you have those big boom moments and those tricks that are still in there. But you can kind of go on this journey with you throughout the piece with all the other elements that you add to it. So I do love that about your work. I know in the upcoming work, let's kind of move in that direction. SKIFF. So tell us specifically about that work because this one's a little bit different than what we've done before. Similar but different. Last time you were here, you were at Kane Park on the pathways. It was kind of moving, and it was the very first thing we had done since the
yeah.
pandemic. And it truly was so special in so many ways um, and needed at that time. So tell me a little bit about this work because we're going to have you on stage performing with your company. You have dancers that you're bringing along with you who are amazing movers. And then you also have four dancers here from our community that are also going to get to work with you as
Yeah.
part of the process. So tell me a little about SKIFF, the inspiration for it, and what should people expect to see in this performance?
Skiff is a it has a lot of layers to it. The first work that I did in 2000, an excerpt of a work that I created later in 2002 was called Olive, and it was about four men who were on this hip hop slave ship. Let's just say a hip hop boat, right? And we were driven by someone else's ideas of what we were supposed to do as hip hop artists. One of the guys comes up with this crazy plan to escape and let's just go swim to this island I know of and we can do whatever we want our way. So the dude, he convinces them to leave the boat and they go to the island to do what they want. But those artists were so it was so ingrained in them that they were supposed to do what was popular that they went back and this dude on this boat was left by himself. 25 years later, I need a new work. I want to come up with something, and I didn't have a retrospective. I wanted to look back at the work that I did and how important it was to me to get to that to current moment I was at through all of that. And it made sense that this journey that I've taken has been a long, lonely one on this sea of artistic, to be really corny, this sea of artistic endeavor.
Yeah,
And I look up and I'm by myself.
but you're returning to the boat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm this dude still on this boat by myself, and it's this long journey, and I'm fishing. And the thing came to mind was the old man in the sea. I'm the old man on this sea of hip hop looking for something and have no idea what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
What am I searching for? What am I fishing for? And so I looked at that and all of the things that I was bringing into this boat with me and where are we going? What fish are we catching? Again?
Mm-hmm.
Again? Like again? That's how I
And
was
it's
looking.
so funny because when I first heard about this piece, it was very early in the process. And I think it's interesting because it started out, I think I was pitched this work as it's going to be a solo work with rap. Then
Yes.
it was a solo work plus one. And then it was a solo work plus 2 and 3. And
Yes.
now it's like it's a solo work with Raph, and he brings a whole company of dancers, and
Yeah.
you have local performers. So it's funny when you talk about fishing because you really have collected so many fish along the way. I love it. But all of those fish are so different and they make it so interesting.
Yeah, and just in that concept alone, I felt like I had to have a fish. And what a big fish at that, because Santiago, the fisherman and the old man in the sea, just happened to catch a marlin, and the marlin is giant, right? And so I wanted to have someone that represented that. So Michael he's a tricker, and I thought that that would be a great representation of that character. And so, and then I started to feel like I needed, let's just say, be more generous, right? And smart. So, how could I bring other people into this and um involve the dance community the way I know it in to tell these stories in ways that made sense along this journey. So when I looked at the old man in the sea, he's so far out, and there's this tiny bird that shows up. And he's talking to the bird and like, what are you doing way out here this far? And so that bird to me was a reflection. He was tripping for a moment. If a bird's not supposed to be out that far, a
Right.
little bird, he's tripping. But we get to see him trip with this bird. So I was like, yo, what if I bring in a dancer that could be this bird? Because
Bird.
now I'm hallucinating. I've been fishing for days and there's no
Hmm.
one out here. And now this bird comes. And at the same time, my questions are being answered. My prayers are being answered. And so all these little things became a reflection of this moment over the years of me taking this long trip. Am I hallucinating? Am I getting my prayers answered? Am I having a conversation with myself? I'm reflecting, I'm vulnerable. All these things are happening. And I felt like I could only show that if I brought in other elements or other performers that would allow me to have this real experience. And the audience gets to see something different, you know?
Yeah. No, I love how collaborative you are. I feel like truly, not just saying this, in terms of all the artists we work with, you are always so open and generous with your mentorship too along the way. And I think as long as our audience and dancers who are participating and students who come to the classes, because we will have a free master class as well for any dancers in our community that would like to take a class with you. Um, I feel like that's part of who you are, at least to me. And I think that that's really special. You don't find that a lot in the artist community, especially artists that are as renowned as you and who have toured the world. And that's really just unique. So I
You
hope
love
that
it.
the audience really feels that and the artists that get to partake into the collaboration. So
I
yeah, we're
hope,
excited about the piece.
yeah, I'm looking forward to working with those guys again.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We're going to have Sammy Mack from 10K Movement and Cho. We've got a few other dancers, Patrick from Tri-C, who's also a instructor at Tri-C, who is our co-presenter on this performance. The performance will take place at Tri-C Metro. So if anyone wants to come by, it'll be downtown. So a different theater than we've ever been in before too. So that'll be really fun as well. A little smaller, intimate. And so it really gives you the opportunity to kind of take in the piece from a different perspective. Sometimes we're in this giant, large 1,000-seat theater. And for this work, we wanted to be in a theater that was a little more intimate so that you really had that personal connection that I think is so unique to your work. Um, so
Cool.
yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm excited.
So, what is something that you look for in young dancers? If you had any recommendation in terms of young dancers in our community, because we have a really amazing hip hop dance community here. What is something that you would recommend for them that you're always looking for when you're seeking dancers for your work or for to be a successful dancer in this career these days?
Really just the energy, just having the want and enthusiasm to do something different. Because you take a young dancer out of that circle, that circular element, that hip hop element, it's very difficult for them to compute or navigate where they're unfamiliar, right? Um, so I just want them to have, I just, I guess, encourage them to be open as much as possible, right? And just explore and experience more. Like I'm looking for that. Let's be excited about these new moments. Let's explore. Let's put some stuff out there and gamble because it's a I think it's a fair exchange. You're gonna learn something from this other world that you can take back into your dance world, your hip hop world in the circles and and level up.
Yeah,
And
it's transferable.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
totally. I have a thing that I do with some young dancers where I get them in the studio and I take away the music and I go, dance for 5 minutes, and in 2, 3 minutes they're blown out because there's no
Yeah.
sense of time, there's no meter, and so when they take that back into the circle, they're dancing like crazy because now they're in this other zone. They understand how to control the body, um, and pace themselves, and that experience, like you said, is transferable, right? But there's something else that I can't put a finger on that gives them an edge.
Hmm.
So when I look at dancers that I work
Just
with, or
know.
dancers who have been in that space before, I see it, right? So I think that's something that they'll remember and hopefully pass on and grow from.
Hmm. Well, what do you hope our audience members take away from the work?
Just a nice story, feel good moment, and it's it's a story that is and a performance that anyone can relate to in the sense of I've been on this path for not me, but them,
Right.
the
The
audience member.
audience.
I've been on this thing for so long. Is there going to be any change? Is anything going to happen? Do I give up? Do I keep going? And ultimately, you make the decision, but pay attention to things in your life that remind you of the moment that you need to keep going.
Hmm.
Not only for you, right? It's for someone or something else. Without you, there's no thing. Without the thing, there's no you. There's no meaning of that thing without you. You have no meaning without that thing. Meaning, it's
It's all connected.
all connected. So you determine how far and how long you want to go based on your experience in life.
Wonderful. Well, we're really excited to see it. I think, like you said, there's something for everyone from tricks and spins and crazy things that we're going to be watching on stage. Like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
To a storyline and beautiful poetry. And I know you had influence from artwork as well, and so many different things. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
excited.
many layers, many layers. And any questions, comments, curiosities, I'll be around for the week before,
Yeah.
bringing after if anybody wants to have a
We're
conversation.
also, I will share also for people who do purchase a ticket, we'll have the performance and we'll also have a Q&A. So after each of our shows, we always make sure that there's an opportunity for folks to ask any questions, get more understanding about the piece. The dancers will be on stage also if you want to get that perspective. And we're just excited to have you. It's going to be here before we know it. So thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you much, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.